shouldn't use the word alien, you shouldn't use the word migrant. They want to take all the words away so that you can't talk about the subject anymore.
Exactly right.
But Lincoln was a beautiful young woman who was savagely beaten and killed by a migrant. But there are many of them. I can tell you the parents will never be the same. I was at the border 3 days ago with 3 people, 2 where their child was killed, and 1 where she was badly injured, beautiful woman. She was badly hurt. They stole a car. She tried to stop them and they ran her over and this and that. She was, thought she was going to be dead, but she had a terrible fracture in the head. And, I had a case that was very interesting. The 13 people that were killed in Afghanistan, you all know about that. That was grossly incompetent. Getting out was fine because I was going to get out. I would have been out before then, but we had an election that happened. But we would have been out with dignity and strength. We would have taken the military out last. Not first, they took the military out first. But they had 13 people killed, and I got to know many of the families of the 13. It was a terrible, tragic thing. None of them should have died. Those people were essentially killed by a stupid administration that didn't know what they're doing, and bad generals like Milley, who was a bad general. And, nobody was fired. It was the most incompetent. I think it's the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, the way it happened. Remember the planes taking off and people falling off the planes. Many people fell to their death. They were hanging onto the wings. They probably thought they could take the plane and fly on the plane. And they didn't realize the plane's going 500 miles an hour. And they fell off at 3,000 feet. That's 3 times the height of the Empire State Building. They fell off. They started falling off, and then they all were off. And a lot of people, but it was a horrible, horrible moment. But you had 13 people killed, many people badly injured, meaning no legs. We had 1, no arm, no legs, and the arm that was left was battered. Face was badly hurt. And these are people, this is just horrible casualties. But I got to know the people. I felt very badly, and they viewed me as their president, frankly. And I don't want to do anything about it. I don't want to say that, but they viewed me. And I everybody knew because it was covered, but not covered like the press should cover it. The press doesn't talk about bad things. They don't talk about what happened in Afghanistan anymore with the Taliban, with that horrible leaving. It wasn't the leaving. It was great to leave because, they were there for like 20 years, and we were leaving, but we were going to keep Bagram, which is one of the biggest Air Force bases in the world, and we were keeping it not because of Afghanistan, but because of China, because it was 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons, so we were keeping that. And it would have been fine, but it was time now to turn it over. Despite the threat to democracy, I did turn that over. I didn't say, they said, you'll never give it over. These people are crazy. They're crazy. But anyway, so I gave it over, and then they took over. And I didn't have anybody killed in Afghanistan for 18 months. I had a long talk with the head of the Taliban, who's really the boss. And his name is Abdul. And I said, Abdul, don't do it. You don't do it. And he said, but why, sir? Why do you send me a picture of my home? Abdul, you'll have to figure that one out. But why do you send me a picture of my home, Your Excellency? Call me Your Excellency. And it was fine. Look, I said, you can't do it. You hit any. They had snipers that were killing our people. Our wonderful soldiers, snipers from a long distance. And we didn't lose one person in 18 months. And then we had this catastrophe happen, which should have never happened. We had them in good shape, but we had to get out. It's ridiculous that we were there. And we left $85 billion worth of equipment. They became brand new equipment, too. Equipment that I bought. They left brand new goggles, tanks, planes. We left it there instead of taking it out. I remember when Milley told me, General Milley, he's one of the woke guys, he was saying, you know all about him, he's bad general. But he was saying, sure, I think we should leave the equipment behind. I said, why? Because I was talking about getting out. And I was going to get out. I brought it down to the number of men, but we had to keep Bagram. You got to keep the Air Force, the big base. Built many years ago for billions and billions of dollars. They said, sir, we should leave the equipment behind. Why? Well, it's much less expensive. I said, wait a minute. We got a $150 million airplane. And we could fill it up with a little gas, a little tank of airplane fuel, and fly it to Pakistan or fly it all the way back home. You think it's cheaper to leave it? And it's a new plane? You think it's cheaper? You think it's cheaper to leave Army tanks where we could put them in a trailer and take? Yes, sir. It's cheaper. I said, this guy is really bad. It's true. And that's what I lost total respect for the guy. I didn't have a lot because, you never got good news. I want people where there's good news, Like the general I used to knock out I knocked out 100% of ISIS. It was supposed to take 5 years. It took about 4 weeks, right? We have a great military. I had a great general in charge of that, and he knocked the hell out of it. He said, sir, I can do it in about 4 weeks. I said, why didn't they do it before? Sir, they didn't want to really fight. They wanted to be politically correct, sure. But it was amazing. We have, I just say to this room, we have a great military. And our military, our real military is not going to be woke. You couldn't convince them to be woke if you screwed at them all day for the next 10 years. But the guys on television are woke, and a lot of the top people are woke, but they'll all be gone pretty quick. They're going to all be gone. To get them out.
When I was in Milwaukee, I got to meet some of the Gold Star families. And
we had a big problem. So I was called by these families, and there were probably 4 of them. There was also somebody very badly injured with the legs and everything. And they asked me, would it be possible 2 days ago, right, to go to Arlington National Cemetery to celebrate the life of their children who had been killed 3 years ago. And this was the whole thing, the whole disaster in Afghanistan, where they set off a bomb and probably 500 people were killed altogether. And we got to think of the other side also, but it was a terrible thing. But we lost 13 soldiers. We had 45 soldiers that were really badly hurt too. Nobody ever talks. You ever notice somebody loses their leg or both legs or their arm? In one case, an arm and 2 legs. And nobody ever talks about them. They talk about, because we have to remember that those people are, nobody ever talks about it. And we had some people that were horrifically injured. Anyway, they called and they said, sir, would you be able to come? Now, I got to know them because I have a place in Bedminster, New Jersey, which is a spectacular place. And they wanted to know whether they like New Jersey. New Jersey is good. New Jersey is some of the most beautiful places. But, so this is a beautiful place. And I had most of the families there about 1.5 years ago. And they all wanted to know whether or not I'd be showing up. I didn't know if I could. And when I heard they were there, I went out and I saw them. And they thought I was going to stay for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, shake everyone's hand and leave. I ended up staying with them like for 4.5 hours. We listened to music up with the members. We're on this beautiful deck overlooking everything. And you're looking at the sky, great food, a very luxurious place. I mean, beautiful. And we had, I don't know, like 20, 25 people, members of the family of these 13 people, or most of the 13. And we ended up listening to music, Elvis and Elton John and everybody. And certain songs were very sad, and I'd point to the sky. I said, your son is looking down at you, and he's very proud. Oh, the people, it was like crazy. I was with him like for 4.5 hours. My 15 minutes, do you think we could get him to stay for 15 minutes? Could he sign something, a picture of my son? So I ended up staying there, and I got to know him. And I got a call a little while ago, like a week, 2 weeks, and they asked whether or not it would be possible to go to Arlington National Cemetery 2 days ago. And also, could I say, for the changing of the guard and the whole thing, which was beautiful. I did that. But it was very tough for me to get there because I was doing something else. I had to get out of something that was not easy to get out of. And I did that, and I did the changing, and then they said, could you come with us to the graves, which is quite a bit away. You know, you had to go into cars and go into, through the cemetery, beautiful Arlington cemetery. And I did that, and I was getting absolutely killed because they're calling me. They're saying, sir, we got a lot of people waiting. I said, don't worry about it. Let them wait. And I did it. And they're looking at the graves, and they're explaining. One of the mothers was saying, and I've had this a lot, actually, sir, could I tell you about my son? Yes. She said, sir, he was a good football player. He was a quarterback. He had a very strong arm. And, he was playing another team, blah, blah, blah. And it was a long story, and I just listened to it because I saw it was like therapy. She was so proud of him.
Oh, they loved you so much, President Trump. They had such wonderful things to say about you when we spoke. So we really appreciate it.
It was so good. But just a bit, so they said, sir, could you take some pictures with us at the graves of our child? And, the child, because the child may be 22 or 24, but that's their child, right? They're not saying at the grave of the man, there's nothing political or anything. This was their child. This was their baby. Could you take a picture with it? And these people are devastated. These people can never, ever be the same. And it was all because of Biden, okay? Folks, I'll get in trouble. I don't care. Get me in trouble. This should have never, ever happened. Nobody should have been killed. They should have left from Bagram, which is this massive base. They shouldn't have left from this little local airport.